Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at two vintage inspired watches. I'm not sure if you'd call these field watches or dress watches, or I guess just everyday watch, but here we have it. Laurier Falcon 2 in Traska Commuter. These are both essentially 36mm watches. The Falcon is 36 and the Commuter is 36.5. Lug to lug is the same on both of these at 44mm. There we go. These both do have signed crowns. You can see the color of the Traska is a little bit different than a stainless steel watch. That's due to the scratch resistant coating. So going back to the dimensions, the thickness on the Laurier in my left hand is 11mm and thickness on the Commuter is 11.2. So very close in overall size. Also, lug width on both of these is the same at 20mm. And both of the bracelets do taper down to 16mm. So both wear very comfortably on wrist. Clasp is a little bit longer on the Traska Commuter. But they both do have, actually the Commuter has 4 micro adjusts and the Laurier Falcon has 3 micro adjusts. So one more micro adjust. I guess that would explain the difference in the overall length of the clasp. Design's a little bit different on both of them, but solid end links, solid links. Same for the Commuter. And they both do have the female end link, so the first link articulates and bends down right away. So that's a good benefit for small wrist. However, these watches are both pretty small already anyway with that 44mm lug width. Crown size on the Falcon's a little bit larger at 6.4mm on the Falcon, this one here, and the Commuter is the 5.8mm crown. They both are rated to 100-meter water resistance. In addition to the scratch-proof coating or scratch-resistant coating on the Commuter, you also do have a scratch-resistant sapphire crystal versus the Hesselite crystal or plexiglass crystal on the Falcon. So you can kind of see a difference in the dome here. The Commuter is a domed crystal as well, and it also has the box cut here. So it looks very similar to a plexiglass crystal, but it is not going to scratch up like a plexiglass crystal. The links on the Laurier are a little bit thinner in this direction here, so it will bend a little bit more on your wrist. Flex a little more, feel a little more comfortable on wrist, I guess I should say. They both do have the Miyota 9000 series movements. Laurier has the 90S5, which is a true no-date movement, and the Commuter has the Miyota 9019 movement with the date there at 6 o'clock. That would be my favorite location for a date on a watch, but most of the time I prefer no date. However, 6 o'clock is almost as good. It doesn't ruin the symmetry of the dial. Although, practically speaking, 3 o'clock date location is probably a little more practical. Anyway, also you notice it does have a boxed-in date window. So this is the Glacier white dial, and then this dial is white, although it is a textured dial. I don't know if that's coming across the camera or not. We can zoom in here and look at both dials separately. So Laurier, everything is printed, and that is BGW9 Loom. You can see the Loom pips or the indices are a little bit different color than that white dial. So you have to let me know in the comment section which of these two watches you prefer. So here's the Traska. It does have applied indices in the dial. This Glacier white is kind of like a pearlescent paint you may have seen on some automobiles. We get these both together, zoomed in. Yeah, it looks like we can. So I like both of these watches. I like the case shape on both of them. I like the vintage inspired styling. They both do have drilled lugs as well. Mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. Just the bevel here is polished. Same on the clasp. The clasp on both of these watches are very similar. And here's the commuter again, brushed with just the polished bevel here. But most of these watches are brushed. They both have pretty nondescript case backs as well, just solid case backs. This one does have some printing on it, or actually engraving. The Laurier has a pattern around the perimeter of the dial. Perimeter of the case back, sorry. But pretty plain, solid case back. Milled clasp. This portion is stamped. Like I said, they both have the dual deployment pushers. The commuter does have the added artistic touch of the perlage work on the clasp here, so that's nice. I'll zoom back out here and try both of these on wrist. I have a 6.5 inch wrist, so I think a good wrist size for both of these watches. It's funny, you can just feel the crystal and you know the difference. This one feels warmer, and it kind of, it's not really sticky, but it kind of, I guess sticky is a good word for it. And the sapphire is just nice and smooth. So the Laurier Falcon 2 is $499. Traska Commuter is $565. But you do get the scratch resistant coating. It does have a date. I don't think that really adds to the cost. Applied indices. And then you have this nice box domed sapphire crystal. The case shapes are a little bit different. The profile here. This one is straight up and down. This one does have some curve to it. The bezel does overhang the case a little bit. I say this due to the curvy side profile of this case. It is interesting that they both have the same lug width. The Laurier looks like it has a wider lug width to me, but I think it's just a visual thing because it comes straight instead of curving down. And the commuter actually looks thicker too, but they are within 0.2 of a millimeter in thickness. It's kind of neat how the case design kind of plays tricks here. You see the case back sticks out farther. Trying to see if I can get a good comparison of the links here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or so. I don't know if that's exactly the same, but regardless, these links are definitely smaller. So let me get each of these on wrist, and then we can get to the loom portion of the video. I'm really not sure which one will have the better loom. They both do have BGW9. I really can't even wager a guess at this point. I do like the hands better on the Laurier. I do like this broad arrow, or yeah, I guess it's a broad arrow handset, or I don't know what you would call that, but definitely seen that on the Omega watches before. This one here kind of reminds me more so of a Rolex Oyster Perpetual. You know, I'm going to guess the Laurier is going to have better loom, but I could be surprised. So let's get the Traska Commuter on wrist. They both do have the screwed links, so very easy to size. So here we are on my 6.5 inch wrist, 44 millimeter lug to lug. I have a 52 millimeter wristband and 36.5 diameter again. I'll zoom out here, get a little bit different perspective. my SKX in the background. So here we go on my 6.5-inch wrist. Wears very well on wrist. I'm actually selling this watch. I'm sure I will regret it, but I just simply cannot keep them all. So it looks good on my wrist in the camera. I'm actually looking at it by eye. It's not too bad. I think the white dial really helps out with making it look a little larger than what it is. So anyway, let's get the Falcon on my wrist. I'm going to have a hard choice picking between both of these watches. I think I'd probably go with the Commuter though. We'll zoom back in here and then we'll get to the Loom. Oops. There we go. So again, 44 lug to lug and 36 case diameter. Actually, I notice I have my calipers here, so maybe I'll just measure them again real quick. Yeah, this is 36. Not really all that easy to measure. Yeah, I guess I was right then. Maybe this is actually larger. Yeah, I don't know. We'll call it the same. Okay, let's pause the video and we'll take a look at the Loom. Oh, before we get there, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. I greatly appreciate it. Like the video and leave a comment below. Thank you. Alright, so on the left, of course, the Laurier Falcon. On the right, the Traska Commuter. So yeah, the Laurier does have the better Loom. I would say mainly due to the size of the indices. It's basically all just Loom versus the metal surround of the applied indices on the Commuter. But the Loom on the Commuter is very good. I really don't find much to complain about that. But the Laurier is just really good. So that will conclude today's video. As always, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.